The Lord who created you says, do not be afraid, for I have ransomed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. When you go through deep waters and great trouble, I will be with you. When you go through rivers of difficulty, you will not drown. When you walk through the fire of oppression, you will not be burned up, and the flames will not consume you. I want to tag for this theme for this sermon, I will, I promise.
Yes.
I will, I promise. A few years ago, I distinctly remember while at my grandmother's house in Slidell, a very unique thing happened to me as I endeavored to blow a half an acre of leaves across the yard to the tree line where the leaves would be piled up. I was singing and I was working about 40 minutes, and I got all the leaves right to the edge of the land, to the tree line, and I had gotten all the leaves there, and all of a sudden a wind blew 50% of the leaves back across the yard. And wanting to say a few choice words, I looked up to heaven and said to the Lord, since I've been singing and praying the whole time, I said, Lord, I thought we were working together. Then in about a minute, another gust of wind came and blew those same leaves back over to the tree line. In about 5 minutes, I was done, as if God winked at me and said, I'm just teasing with you. Just trust me. So it made me realize that no matter what we're dealing with, God declares, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Now, after you've put much work into life and things don't seem to be going right, it is comforting to hear a word on a Sunday morning, God saying, I will be with you. I will never leave you. I will be with you. Listen, when Israel found itself transitioning from one place to another, from one people to another, from one paradigm to another, they were reminded in the closing verses of chapter 42 of Isaiah just how difficult their journey had been. Now in chapter 43, Isaiah, they get this salutation of salvation from God, promising them an unusual alliance that they could move forward into their future because God would be with them. They could move forward with the word of God because God had promised an assurance for all of them that God would be in their future with them. And when we look again at the text, they are not to be afraid, for they have already been ransomed. That is God, the creator of everything. He would intervene on their behalf like he had in previous times. He would be there for this exilic people to claim them and to deliver them, and God had called them by name. God had identified them as God's own people and entered into a non-negotiable agreement to be with them in every possible circumstance. When they go through deep waters, in great trouble, God would be there. When they go through rivers of difficulty, God would be their lifeguard. When they walk through the fire of oppression, they would not be sin-scorched, nor would they even smell like smoke. Why? Because God is with them. God has promised to help them and maneuver them through the rough terrain of their journey that is ahead of them. The Exodus was behind them. The Red Sea experience was behind them. Pharaoh was behind them. Now they're moving forward into a new relationship and a new future with God and the world. As we gather here today, we all must note that everybody in here has something, point one, a punctuated past. A punctuated past. Many of us have our own individual and collective stories of life and living, and each of us has some punctuated past, whether it's an exclamation mark or a comma, maybe it's a question in your life. God has given you a punctuated past, and I pray that most of us end up with a period in our lives where God has brought you out of something. That's your past. We all have a past. Some things we wish we could go back and change. And some things we would do them the same way all over again. Whether you come from a day of having an outhouse or you came from a pristine pit house, whether you come from the projects of Pontchartrain Park, whether you came from uptown, downtown, back of town, front of town, whether you came from the 9 and you don't mind dying, whether you came from a world of a single mother, both parents at home, adoption, or just don't think you come from the folk you call family, we all have a story to tell of our exilic experience of life and living. Some situation may have left you feeling naked and afraid, and no matter how scared your past is, God says, fear not. For I have redeemed you. I have called you by name, and you are mine. God says, I brought you out, and you realize when you look back over your life, there are times you say to yourself, I don't even understand how God got me out of some situations I got myself in, but I couldn't get myself out of. Because you have a punctuated past. Henry Nouwen, church theologian, views in my eyes the condition of going from past to present. And he states, nobody escapes life without being wounded. We all are wounded people, whether physically, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. But the main question is not how can we hide our woundedness so we don't have to be embarrassed. He tells us that we should use our woundedness in the service of others. When our wounds cease to be a source of shame and become a source of healing, we have become wounded healers. Wounds heal, but scars are the evidence. There was a young boy who was playing in his backyard in Florida against the Marsh Bayou of Florida, and his mother was watching over him in the backyard from the kitchen window washing dishes, and she could see that he could not see, but coming out of that marsh was an alligator. Mama came out running to grab her son. Before she knew it, the alligator had grabbed her son by the leg and was pulling him back into the water. And she grabbed him by the arm, and she was holding on to him for dear life and hollering. The neighbor came, and the neighbor had a gun and shot the alligator. And the young boy got to the doctor, and the doctor said, well, let me see your scars. And the boy said to the doctor, what scars do you want to see? Do you want to see my good scars or do you want to see my bad scars? The doctor said, what do you mean? He said, my bad scars are the scars where the alligator grabbed me by my leg and was trying to pull me in. But my good scars are when my mama grabbed me and her nails went into my arm and she tried to pull me away from it. God says today, there's been some good scars in your life, even though you had some bad scars in your life. And you ought to thank God for the scars that God has allowed you to have. There's some experiences behind you. Not only do you have a punctuated past, but there is a perilous present. Some things that you are facing right now. And make no mistake about it. There's a difficult world out there, Greater Grace. It can be difficult right here in the church with church folk. It's a postmodern church, and it's a church in the world, and it's a church of the world. In the perilous present we live in, world where we don't know if it's safe to go to Walmart or the mall. World of bullet-ridden streets and gang-infested neighborhoods where innocent young people that have nothing to do with anything, their life can be taken away. We live in a world where everything and anything can come out of the White House. A world where supreme justices are not supreme or just. It's a perilous present. Nobody has job security. They may not have social security anytime soon. Troubles on my left and troubles on my right. Persistent problems, painful problems, perplexing problems, perpetual problems. I'm trying to help you to catch up. Pious problems and piercing problems and prolonged problems and perverse problems and pretentious problems. Problems that I pray about daily. It's perilous. But the word of God said, fear not. Don't be afraid, because the Lord is going to order your steps. So I just stopped by on my way to heaven to remind you in the words of this text, when you go through deep waters and great trouble, God will be with you. When you go through rivers of difficulty, you will not drown. When you walk through the fire, be burned, nor the flames consume you. The devil can't kill me, so in between this circumstance, he tries to squeeze me. Well, you've got to understand that God says, I'll be there for you. You don't worry about it, because I'm working some stuff out on your behalf in your presence. Go through deep water. It's a reference of the flood that God told Noah, build an ark. Many drowned because they didn't listen to God's call. Noah, you know what I need you to do. Just do it, and I'll show you through resources that I've provided a space for you. Just trust me through the deep waters. Go through rivers when you get to a life circumstance like the Red Sea, with nowhere to run and nowhere to hide, and Pharaoh is behind you. He said, I'll be with you if you just step out on faith. I'll be with you. When you go through the fires of oppression, was a replica, an example of not when you trust God in the circumstances of your life that could burn you up. You can be like 3 Hebrew boys in a fiery furnace. And you know what I like about God is so good that sometimes God doesn't deliver you from the fire, but God will deliver you in the fire. Because if you trust God, God said, give me the key. I'll walk in that thing and be with you, and you'll be clean inside the fire when others burn up on the outside. All that you have experienced, greater grace, and in your life and in your church, has been designed to get you ready for what's ahead. The Lord said, I will. I promise. Every situation that you had to deal with in your personal experience is a microcosm of what's ahead. That's why thus the text uses the words when you go through as a noun, because the struggle in life is inevitable. All translations I read and studied of this passage use the word when. It doesn't say if. It says when. Doing so, it suggests to me the inevitability of hard times, rough places, and difficult situations in life. When you come, not if you come to a hard place. When you face, not if you face tremendous challenge. When it gets too hard, not if it gets too hard, God will be with you. And many of us can say there's no ifs in my life, but it's when. God has been with me when I've been in the situations I've been in. And I don't want to disrupt your pretty presupposed prepositions of your life, but I have to for you to understand that in this Christian world, too many of us have gotten it wrong. Too many sermons and too many songs that have bad theology and bad religion. I have to keep it real. Being a Christian is not about getting everything from God like you want to get it, but it's about what God can do in your life to change you in what you're in. And as you go through life, there'll be some ups and some downs. There'll be some joys and some sorrow. There'll be some pain and some gain. That's why the world is the way it is. But let me tell you the real deal. There are times you're going to be locked out, kicked out, talked about, cursed, and lied on. But I know a God that says, I'll be with you even in those experiences. You need to know that God has been with you every step of the way. Do I have a witness in here? And God is going to go with you into your future. God is directing your journey and ordering your steps. God is charting your course. And he knows where he wants you to go. When you come to moments of uncertainty and doubt, God will be there. And when people will not cooperate or show up, God will be there. When the church is mean and difficult, God will be there. God will lift you when you're down. God will comfort you when you're at midnight. God will make a way through the wilderness. God will fight every one of your battles. Before I went to college, I used to talk about what I heard. When I left Dillard, I talked about what I learned. When I graduated from seminary, I talked about what I believed. But some years on the other side of life's experiences, and sitting with life, I can tell you the world doesn't know all the things that I can tell them about how good God is. I can tell you what I know at this time in my life. God will open doors for you. God will be a father to you when you're fatherless. God will be your hope and your dreams. God will be by your side. I'm not telling you what I heard, what I learned, but I'm telling hard. There have been some difficult days, some mean people in some hard places, some bad experiences. But you know, we just can't blame other folk and other circumstances. Be honest in here. Tap your neighbor. Just tap your neighbor. Just tap your neighbor. Be honest. There's some days when you didn't do all that you could have. When you weren't all that you should have been. There's some days that you could have been better. There's some times when you were not at your best. There are some days that you slacked off, took off, and goofed off, but it's all behind you now. It's a new season. It's a new day. Everything that you've experienced and are experiencing is getting you ready for what God has planned for you. And finally, not only can you trust God with the circumstances of life and know that God has a punctuated past that's there for you and there's a perilous present, but understand this, there is a particular promise. I will be with you. Fear not, for I am with you. And I will bring your descendants, that's a seed, from the east and gather them from the west. And I will say to the north, give them up, and to the south, don't keep them back. Bring forth the sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth. Everyone who's called by my name, whom I created for my glory. I have formed him. Yes, I have made them. A promise. It's critical because God is on stage. And the spotlight is on God to be consistent in keeping his word. See, you don't have to prove anything to anybody. Because if you're in God and God has called you, God has his name on the line. All you have to do when you're going through great trial and tribulation is say, God, your name is on the line. All you have to do when you're dealing with rough situations, you trust God for his promise and say, God, your name is on the line. And when you believe the promise when it's given with the same intensity that you believe the promise when it comes to pass, all of us can say, God, you did that thing. You made that way. You made that door open for us, oh God. And you made us be who you wanted us to be. All of us have had people to promise some things that did not come through, commitments they did not live up to. You know, folk are going to change. It lessens our faith sometimes when people promise us stuff. So it becomes hard to have faith. That's why I can't get stuck in my situation. I have to have revelation of what God can do. Because God promised, if I hold on to him, a promise will come through. You know, a promise will freeze your life, cause you to change your direction. Let me help you. We coming out to revival at Greater Grace. And I call and I tell you, look, we going to the revival. You want to come? You need a ride? No, I'm good. I got a ride. Somebody told me they coming. All right, so you let me go on. Somebody else comes along and they tell you, all right, I'm headed out to the revival and I'm going. Do you want to ride? No, I'm good. Somebody promised me that they're going to come and get me. I got a ride. So you let them go on. You let 2 or 3 other people call you, even pass by the house and say, you want to hop in with us? You tell them, no, go ahead. I'll be on my way because I have a ride. Can I tell you, you don't have a ride. All you have is a promise of a ride. And if you put your promises in man, they might let you down every time. But I know a God that promised that he would be with you and never leave you and nor forsake you. You can put your promises and trust in God no matter what you face. We look at some things as though it's punishment. We look at our weight sometimes as punishment because God has us waiting. But you know, God's weight, more than likely, is preparation. You look at rejection as punishment. Your rejection is just direction. Don't go that way. If it rejects you, then God did not give it to you. When God is with you, God says that thing won't be able to hold you out from having it because I'm with you for you to get it. Then you realize that victory over my past, and I have victory even in my present. I just have to trust God for my future. God does not need a good past to give you a good future. God does not need a good past to give you a good promise. When you believe God, you can go through hell and still come out of it and know that the promise is still yours. You have to move from the apprehension out of the negatives of your past and move into the anticipation of the positives of your promise. And the only reason I have a future is God made me a promise that he would be with me. He would be with me. And guess what? I can't die and you can't die until you get it. You can't die until you see it. You have to trust God with a punctuated past and a perilous present and a particular promise. He has a promise for you. God's promise is more like this. There was a young man who was being bullied at school by this guy who was much bigger than him. And he ran home and he told his big brother. And he said, there's this boy that lives down the street on the corner. He takes my lunch money. And whenever I bring lunch from home, he takes my lunch box. He bullies me. He puts his hands on me. And he always talks about me. The brother told him, he said, what I want you to do tomorrow, so I want you to go down to his house. He's the one that lives on the corner. He said, yes, he lives on the corner. He said, go down to his house and knock on his door. And tell him to come out and have him to come out all the way to the sidewalk. You tell him, I'm tired of you putting your hands on me. I'm tired of you bullying me all the time. You tell that bully that. And the young man said to his brother, he said, bro, that sounds good. But where are you going to be when this happened? He said, don't worry about it. I got it all under control. Just do what I tell you to do. That next day came. The little boy stepped off. He left his brother on the porch. He stepped off and he went down the street to that bully's house and he knocked on the door. And the bully opened the door and he came and brought him out to the street. And the boy took a deep breath as the bully towered over him. And he told him, I'm tired of you bullying me. And I'm tired of you putting your hands on me. I don't want you to do that anymore. And the bully was raising his voice, and like he was going to say something to him, he said, okay, I won't. The young man looked at the bully and said, and I don't want you to touch me no more or take my lunch money anymore. I'm through with that. And the bully looked at him and said, okay, all right. And the little boy ran back home, and his brother was sitting on the porch, and he told his brother, he said he was all right. He told me he wasn't going to do it anymore. He told me that he wasn't going to fool with me anymore. He wasn't going to bully me anymore. But the little boy didn't know that when he knocked on that door and he brought the boy out to the sidewalk, behind him where he couldn't see was his big brother standing behind him. And every time that bully looked like he was going to say something, that big brother just folded his arms. Can I bless you real good? God is just like that. He's our big brother. He's got your back and he's behind you. He said, no matter the bullies you have to face in your life, I will be with you. And I came to tell somebody, be not dismayed. Whatever betide, God will take care of you. Beneath his wings of love, of high, God will take care of you. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, God will take care of you through every day, all of the way. God will take care of you. the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Look at your neighbor one last time and say, neighbor,